Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the greatest player of all time. In the red, the finisher. It's Serral. Facing off against the best Protoss player in the world. In the blue, we have MaxPax. A best of 5 Protoss versus Zerg showdown. And I know it'd be hard to ask for more than this. But that's never stopped me before, so it'd be awesome if before we start out, you could smash that like button and maybe even subscribe. And Jimmy, what are we? 1,551 likes on this video on this cast, and I'll cast another one. I'll probably do it anyways. I don't know what else I'd do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far, and hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. As Serral dives to the low ground, chews through the minerals, and we'll open up with 3 hatcheries. The Overlord already spying on what MaxPax is up to. And up indeed, with the Stargate on the way, about to complete. I'm not sure if MaxPax spotted the Overlord, but he knows it's very likely there. And he wants it very likely dead. A Void Ray in production to start things off. The close air distances of El Dorado create a interesting dynamic. On paper, I always want to say this is going to be our turtly map. But in practice, it rarely plays out like that. As if both players head towards the south side of the map, well, we're in a very intimate distance, like I mentioned before, where it's incredibly easy to execute any sort of early attack and very difficult to avoid it. And the Overlord actually surprisingly agile for its size and figure and temperament and general demeanor and intelligence level, but manages to evade the Void Ray as he sneaks up to the high ground. Well, he saw the Void Ray in production at the Stargate, unique in allowing you to tell what it's building. So in confirming the Void Ray and slightly out of vision range, he manages to slip away. So the Void Ray heading towards the main where a Queen will be there to meet it. He's going to try to target down a drone. Successfully does so, which is a little surprising, but more Queens coming down. And kind of tripping over one another to get some hits off with their knitting needles. And Oracle comes in the other side, but taking a lot of damage as well. And overall, the Overlord comes back in. The Thief in the Night, like one of the birthday balloons that you forgot about, drifting back into your room while you're sleeping. The Overlord is watching. And we'll see there's no more follow-up on the Stargate, though it will likely miss the huge gateway explosion on the low ground. Well, one of those is a Twilight, another's a Forge. But MaxPax hiding the tech just a bit out of sight of the Overlord and is adding even more gates behind it, which makes me think that Glaive to Depths might be on the horizon. But he does have 4 gases, so maybe just a heavy blink timing. Meanwhile, Oracle coming back around, but the Queen politely yet firmly asking it to leave. Serral actually I think that's a little bit of a mistake. He's human. More evidence required. We need a secondary source, but he was mining through the mineral wall to make sure that it's not going to be used against him in the later game. But the drones got a taste of those golden minerals, and let's be honest here. I'm not saying he's a gold digger, but those minerals are 40% more valuable, so in this economy, I'm not one to judge. It's going to be Blink and +1. MaxPax with 5 gateways, which is indeed an odd number, as usually 4, 6, or 8 you are used to even things out. But I think he was opening up the opportunity for some more pressure, but realizes that Serral's going to be ready for it, and instead already 2 more gases at the third. Serral, 66 drones. Infestation Pit is on the way. And the Zerglings will run down the Adept at the Watchtower despite the multiple flavors of beams above it. The Queens on the edge of the creep driving back the Void Ray. And the Templar Archives alongside a robotics facility in production. But that infestation... Swarmos? No. Not with that many Zerglings. Hive could be on the way, but the thing is he doesn't even have a Hydraless debt. So, if he rushes up towards Hive, I'm actually interested to see what it's going to be for. Adrenal Gland Zerglings, one of the best upgrades in the game. There's the Hydra Den. The obvious choice is Lurkers, but I think in another bit of just selective memory, Serral, not realizing he didn't go for the Hydra Den yet, adding it on. And I imagine a Lurker Den very soon behind. The stasis is in place. Well, if Serral sees it... if he was able to split off a link, but I think MaxPax will be able to save this base as he cut off enough of the Zerglings with the stasis. They're trapped there. Overseer will spot everything relevant. He sees Templar archives. He knows about the blink, of course. The robotics facility spotted. As both sides, now we are in the most macro-oriented split. With Serral at the bottom right, and MaxPax heading up to the top left, it is difficult for either player to do a direct attack on the ground, at least until someone mines through this mineral wall. So they're relegated to these run-bys, these stabs in with, well, the Oracle was taken out. So it looks like the Queens finally got their revenge. And we'll be looking for more, I'm sure. There's the Lurker Den immediately. So we'll be heading towards those Hive-Tech Lurkers, just somewhat delayed on that fact. A Spylon, making sure Serral doesn't sneak his way through. A single Stalker trying to bait in the Zerglings. Will it actually work? What a masterful bait by MaxPax. Unfortunately, the Stalker is taken out as well, but they'll expect one of us in the wreckage. Another couple dozen Zerglings taken out. Adrenal Gland still pretty far off as MaxPax putting together a strong mid-game push. He's got 10 gateways behind it. He's begun a fleet beacon back at home as he calls towards the Sky Toss Armada, realizing that Serral was likely teching up, and that's why he hasn't been aggressive yet. But MaxPax at 150 supply, a few Archons to buffer, can help chew through the Zerglings, but the Storm rips through everything else. The Stalkers and Zealots, plenty of damage on their own. +1 attack is done for everything. +1 Protoss ground, +1 melee, +1 range as MaxPax closes in on the third base. The Archons leading the charge, Stalkers close behind, and the Templar building energy. 3 or 4 Storms ready at the moment. The Zealots caught in, but the Queens and Zerglings will engage. Storms on top of the Lurkers and Hydras alike. Queen's coming in to help out against the Void Rain. If he's able to pick off the Warp Prism, this might end here. Picks up the Templar, gets out easily. Void Rain knocked out of the sky. And Serral just slaps this down with his overwhelming economy and his great positioning. MaxPax ambitious. He was clearly not trying to get game-ending damage done, but at least trading out for some Hydras. If he's lucky, kill the hatchery. But no, none of the above. He gets completely slapped away by the Hydras and Lings. And now Serral has a lot of space, both on the map and kind of mentally. As at this stage of the game, MaxPax now has to play defensive, which gives him very little room for error against the amount of Zerg that Serral can bring to the table. And I think MaxPax just now gonna... Well, he saw the gas geysers of this base. There's no Templar in there. If there were, it could be devastating. The Dropper Lords are loaded up. A Lurker drop is on the way. Serral. El Dorado, the map that is most likely to make this viable. Their Stalker's in position. He's anticipating it. This is one of Serral's go-to late-game moves before we get to the end game, which is more like Infestor Broodlord. But the Overlords are coming in. Storms warding away towards the north side. Blink Stalkers in position and pop the Overlord with 2 Lurkers inside. And that will shut down this strategy for now. Looks like the Lurker upgrades are completed. Range and burrow speed. Hydra Lunge will now be ready as well. Serral finds another angle, drops in past the minerals. Mothership is on the field. Cloaking activated. A single Overseer for detection on both sides of this. And there's no detection to deal with the Lurkers. The Hydras and Lings are streaming through. Serral struggling to get any meaningful damage so far. As he picked off 1 Tempest, but the Storms will coat all of the Lurkers. The Mothership will cover the rest. And he'll easily be able to excise them from the field. A Queen assassinated by the charge lots. They also killed off the base to the top right. So while Serral was committing the vast majority of his army to do damage inside MaxPax's base, MaxPax was able to cut off the edge of Serral's economy. So overall, that trade MaxPax killed 1,800 more minerals, a few hundred more gas, and most importantly, it killed the momentum. That was Serral's big attack with his 200 versus less than 200 supply. That was Serral's big attack with the hive tech versus someone who was already not yet transitioning into Sky Toss. But now, with that attack thrown back, well, it's MaxPax's time to give him some flack, of which he has a knack. That's why they call him MaxPax. More dropper lords on the way. Serral identifies the problem, which was quantity and not quality. With the corruptors to potentially clear a path, another drop? Well, if he does get into the main any of these times, the production is completely vulnerable. The Zerglings trying to get us around in the Zealots, but everybody's jammed into a corner here. Usually favoring the Zealots, but nobody's happy about the situation. One Broodlord on the way. Another Corruptor. Burrow, +2 melee attack, +1 Carapace in production for Serral, +3 ground weapons. About to complete for MaxPax. He has a single cannon in the main. I'm not sure if this was spotted. Loads up some more into the Dropper Lords. Operation Overlord, still a very viable strategy. Blinks into the main. One of the Overlords going to be taken down, but it just had Zerglings inside, and the Lurkers will stagger out. Bringing the Corruptors in, knowing the Sky Toss is moving to intercept, but there are so many Tempests already. 7 Tempests on the field. He does have Overseers. Time Warp, very helpful. Storm, even more so. As the Corruptors are warded away, but they did their job. They kept MaxPax busy while the Lurkers eviscerate the base. The ground army is headed towards the other side. More Lurkers on the way on defense. Activates the cloaking. Will he be able to save the base with it? Unlikely. Revelation on the main army. Meanwhile, though, the Immortals? Oh no, the Archons caught on top of everything. The Lurkers doing a lot of damage. Not quite able to take them out. The Lurkers abandoned in the main of MaxPax. Unable to extract. Double Nidus Swarm is on the way. As Serral tries a whole new angle. No, the Corruptors fly right over the Archons. And Serral not paying attention. There's so much going on all over the place on this map. Because of that, well, the mineral wall's opened up in the center, but because of the layout of the map... Ah, yes. The Guardian of the Watchtower. The Brood. Call me Brutus. Okay, Bartholomew. Brutus! 23 probes dead. 3 more Stargates in production to replace what MaxPax lost in the main. Another drop is loaded up as Serral continues the aggression. Knowing if he lets MaxPax put together a coherent attack, well, it's going to be almost impossible to stop that Sky Toss army, as MaxPax is still maxed out with 138 army supply. Serral continues the assault, but the returns are diminishing. The Caustic Spray, gonna try to melt through a Nexus, doesn't go for the Fleet Beacon. Nidus at an optimistic position up towards the north side. The main Nexus will be taken out yet again. But MaxPax still has that army supply, and he's coming across the map. The Broodlord was removed from the field. Not entirely sure how. May have ended itself, to be honest, how it was acting. The Tempest +1 attack done, and enough of them to take out Corruptors in a single volley. Serral has been mining so much gas. In fact, he has 1,000 more gas per minute. 2,000 gas per minute in total, and somehow he's spending the vast majority of it. This next fight could definitely decide it as well. Nidus up to the north side. Serral. The Storms coating the Lurkers as he tries to close in. Forces the Storms on top of everything. No Vipers for Parasitic Bomb. Going for the Mothership, but she's a hefty one indeed. Finally gets taken down. The Lurkers trying to figure out what to do with their lives. Will burrow down. The Archons will eventually take it out. An optimistic recall. He gets out with several of the Tempests. The Archons obliterating the Zerglings. But eventually will be whittled down. Wait, one Archon survived. Meanwhile, another army up towards the north side. The 3 o'clock base vulnerable yet again, but the Zergling reinforcements are starting to overrun, but Serral's supply is taking a tumble. He's got 3,000 minerals, or 3,000 gas, but no minerals to back it up. Another counter. A handful of Zerglings, assuming you can fit like 6 Zerglings in your hand. But the Lurker, the real damage on the other side. He's going to take out the Nexus in the top left corner, but how does he beat the main army? The Zealots are still an existential threat. Serral, 150 to 175 supply. The army supply is where he's really struggling the most. No tectonic destabilizers for MaxPax. But I think Serral, he doesn't have the Infestors. He doesn't have the Broodlords. He's running out of options. He's making more Lurkers. But there is one Lurker on the high ground. There's still enough probes for MaxPax to keep it together. The Queens are taken out as well. Annihilated by the Tempest. 8 more drones dead. Does Serral have Neural Parasite? No. He does have Burrow. Great minds. Neural Parasite enters production as the Infestors. They try to find something. The Zerglings, overrunning the cannons, decides not to take that trade. Zealots to the south, but 20 drones dead in the last minute and counting. The Zealots cut through. No defenses to the 6 o'clock base. Another Nexus is taken out, but Serral, at this point, he's going to have to rely on Infestors and Neural Parasite, and those are pretty inherently unreliable. Zealots getting cleared up. The Zerglings have 3-2 at Adrenal Gland, so they can actually trade quite well. He needs to force MaxPax to look away for any amount of time. The Neural Parasites, they need to land. He's reliant on that, which is unfortunate. But it's where we are now. Is there a recall available? Does he even need it? The Fungals are chained through. The Corruptors are closing in from both sides. More Corruptors piling in, trying to take out the Tempest. There's still some storms, but there's just not enough anti-air. Serral's down to 2 Corruptors and 1 Hydra. The Queens have been removed. Now there's 4 Tempests and less than 4 anti-air units to deal with them. Still a couple Infestors burrowed. But I think MaxPax has done it. He's withstood the swarm. Serral even has a Nidus in the main base right now, which MaxPax is surprisingly still has probes there. But Serral couldn't get the damage done in time. MaxPax built up to the Tempest Mothership army, and while the Mothership hasn't returned to the field, I think she got enough damage done. A pretty desperate Lurker counter. Will he recall onto this base? I don't think it's worth it for that. You gotta have some priorities in your life. And murdering the brunt of the Zerg rather than a small portion of them is usually a better one. Oh, well, I misspoke. The Mothership is back. He tries some Neural Parasites, immediately dies to Storm and hits 2 Gs on his keyboard. MaxPax will take it. 1-0. Serral trying a whole bunch of angles. Well, MaxPax acutely aware of them. Unable to really get the damage done. I feel like he rushed up to a Lurker timing with Hive, but he forgot the Hydra dead. And a 30-second or so delay on the Lurkers kind of set the tone. MaxPax was struggling, but not quite enough. The timing was good across the board. The early blink was completely shut down. MaxPax holds. A smooth transition into the Tempest and Mothership as well. That's a lot to handle. Well, Serral on the back foot. Abyssal Reef, welcome back. I believe this was in the map pool when Serral won his first world championship. So maybe a bit of a nostalgic one. The Natchery will be blocked by the pesky probe, which MaxPax sent out early enough to make sure of it. It does seem to be map dependent whether that early probe gets sent out to block the hatchery, especially with hatcheries now 25 minerals off, though Queen's costing 25 minerals more, which definitely hurts more than the hatcheries help. But I have it on good authority. Serral is still occasionally winning games, so. Though that has yet to be proven here. spawning pool on the way. Nexus. Drop down. Nothing untoward. I seriously doubt we'll see a cannon rush. We might see some sort of pool timing, but even then, I think as something to gain leverage and get more drones. Feels like these two continually going back and forth. Serral adapting and finding these more mid-game or aggressive timings. MaxPax translating that to a more defensive sort of gameplay. And then, occasionally Serral just sits back, builds up, and squeezes him out of the game. But it's just as much map dependent as it is matchup dependent. These two, the very best of the best. And I don't think it's really that close between them and second. So there's an argument with Hero. All right, Hero and MaxPax are ranked nearly the same. But MaxPax is... he's like a 3-course meal. Whereas Hero is doing fireball shots and then dancing on the table. It's a very different vibe. Both perfectly viable. And commanding respect of one way or another. But, MaxPax with your more full-bodied Protoss style. And, Hero with the more reckless. You know, some might argue, including myself, that that's usually more entertaining. But when MaxPax is facing off against Serral or Clem, you could really see what the highest level truly is. Oracle is the choice. The Void Ray, I think, specific to El Dorado and that air rush distance. Serral's Overlord, getting poked and prodded by the Stalker. Stalked, if you would. And the Overlord micro has been on point. Unfortunately, the Overlord pointed out and taken down. We got a couple more on the way to replace it. Second Oracle. How many Moracles will he build? With energy recharge demonstrated there. The third Oracle has been cut out of the build the vast majority of the time. Before the patch, a few months ago, 3 Oracles was standard, the Triumvirate. But we've cut that down to 2. Because with an extra 100 energy on one of the Oracles, you can pretty much do the same thing that 3 Oracles could before. You have enough energy to use Revelation and clear creep on your own. You still have the 2 Oracles to burn down drones in a single volley. And you save 150 gas, which significantly expedites the blank +1 sort of timings. The Oracles come in and... Sir, this is the hatchery owners. Sir, are you listening? I think they're robots, Brenda. And I don't think they can say anything. The Protoss don't have... Shut up, Susan! I wish you didn't have a mouth! Anyways, this is private property. The Hatchery Owners Association would kindly ask you to fuck off. Brenda, we're gonna get demonetized! How many times... sorry, I blacked out for a moment. Oracle... Roach Warren is on the way. Interesting wall off. Uses that second pylon as part of it. I would almost say hero style, but I think there is a method to the madness here. 3 more gas geysers in production. Single queen getting tag teamed by the Oracles, but saved. Meanwhile, the Blink Stalkers and +1 on the way. Serral opting for massive roaches this time around. Gonna try the more mid-game oriented. Believe he had a Roach Horn and Roach Speed in the previous game. He just didn't really end up building any. As if you can skip to the Hydra Lurker. Spy. Could it be? Mutas? Now, against someone who goes Stargate, usually Mutalisks are a risk because it's very likely they will have pretty active scouting. The Oracles, that's the whole deal. As well as Blink Stalkers. But also it can give you a false sense of security. When you have Blink Stalkers and Oracles, you feel like you've already defended against mutas before they can even exist. So while mutas are almost entirely dependent on surprise, that surprise can be deadly. Alright, pulling back the Zergling counter, but he's already got it zoned out quite well here. Spire, 3/4 of the way done. Serral clearly banking up some extra gas, but he has to pretend like he has just Roachling. He has to keep the pressure on here. The Zerglings threading the needle between the stasis, even though it doesn't seem like they noticed it was there. Blinks all the way out. 4th base is on the way for MaxPax. 8 Mutalisks in production. 9 mut. I'm not going to count each muta. 10 mut. Okay, maybe I will. 10 mutas in production. Road speed finishing up. +1 ranged attack as MaxPax takes that center base, and no indications he has any idea this is happening. Some indications he has a good idea this is happening. He saw the gas at the 4th base, and he's starting to build cannons. At least a couple at his natural. Not 100% confident, I don't think, at this point. But some suspicions of something like mutas coming in. He canceled the shield better. He'll keep the cannon in the mineral line. So I would say MaxPax doesn't know for sure, but he's like 69% sure. And that's nice enough. Yeah, more cannons, a shield battery. I lied. Those are both cannons in the main base. I lied. One's a cannon, one's a pylon. Maybe I could just click on them in the first place, but the mutas may make this a moot point. More like a muta point. Okay. As they take down 8 probes so far, glide towards the Templar and realize that that's some stormy weather they don't want to interact with. 8 probes dead. Not a resounding victory, but he also doesn't get slapped out of the sky, so that's a win. The mutas and the stalkers trying to execute some sort of crazy summoning ritual on that base. But MaxPax now with quite a strong army. Serral trying to make the transition up to Hive Tech yet again. He's got the Lurker den on the way. The mutas will force a response from the stalkers, though a lot of them getting taken down on the way across. He's gonna go for the full commit. Like half a dozen Templar with 2 storms apiece. Magic boxing the mutas, beautiful micro against that Archon. Storms to ward away. There's a stasis in the midst of everything as well. Still using those oracles mid-fight. The mutas cutting off some of the reinforcements, but the army supply is dangerously close to even. +2 ground weapons finished right as MaxPax commits to the assault. Stasis boxes out to the north side. More Templar taken down. The Storm's taking their toll as well. The Muta's driven back from the natural. We'll be heading back across. More reinforcements are on the way. Very important. No Archons with this. Only a couple more Templar remain. The Storms are still an existential threat, and they get a lot of damage done. The last Storm doesn't get an Archon merge. He's left with just Stalkers, which are fragile creatures on their own. They rely on their ability to slink away from the fight. And the mutas are hunting down the oracles. He tries to body block out. The mutas swing back around, and Serral comes away from this fight with a 50 supply lead. A solid defense. He's got now a very key point. Again, this was all happening as Serral transitioned to the next level of tech. Just like MaxPax in the last game, where he was able to defend and have the fleet beacon and his extra bases on the way. Now, Serral is going to have lurkers with range and burrow speed. He's going to have... Did he go for adrenal glands? He did not. I don't think it's that relevant at this stage, as right now the lurkers are the major threat. The fleet beacon is only halfway done, and this bacon may be getting cooked beforehand. Going to try to get the lurkers under the plateau. The Muta's also swinging into the fight, the survivors of the fray so far, though I'm not entirely sure Serral really cares about him at this stage. Be helpful to take out things like the Warp Prism. Revelation used. He's actually chasing the Prism with the Mutas, trying to take it out. Several Zealots and the, well, Spore Crawler will make sure it's taken down. The Lurkers and Hydras just running through the center. One of them gets taken down. A Lurker will ascend to the heavens, but so many other Lurkers will be ascending up the ramp. Meanwhile, some more charge lots try to dive through into the third and fourth base simultaneously. Mostly undefended, but the Lurker's still unchallenged. The Fleet Beacon might be done, but MaxPax has yet to begin any sort of Fleet Beacon-based units. No Mothership, no Tempest, no easy way to drive this back down the ramp. Where the Templar with energy recharge? He still has a lot of supply, and a great flank coming in from both sides. The Templar being cut down, the Storms will rip through everything, but he takes out a lot of the Templar in the process. A costly exchange for MaxPax, but he will be able to hunt down a few extra Lurkers on the way out. They will burrow down yet again, but Serral's economy is mostly untouched. 82 drones, 182 supply. The Muta's still alive, somehow weathering this many storms. MaxPax still has all his bases and 72 probes, so Serral does run the risk of overextending. But at the same time, he has 6 bases to 4. He has 50 more supply, and he has a tech advantage for a little while longer. It's time to use it. He burrows down on the 4th base, gonna start slicing through the defenses and anything else that gets nearby. Cuts through the Lurker on the low ground, but there's several more on the high. The probe's on the run. Corrosive Bile thrown up helps take down the Nexus, and now there were only 3 bases. Ground weapons level 3. The wall has been torn asunder. And the Zerglings will stream through. The Lurker's underneath. He can see him, but he can't stop him. MaxPax. The noose is tightening. The Mothership has arrived, but will there be anything left to save? Plenty of Overseers with the army. He's gonna try to come through the choke point, but he won't be coming out. Serral strikes back. 1-1. A strong game. Serral showing he's not gonna get flustered. Well, there's a reason that he is the rank 1 player of the world, the greatest of all time. He doesn't seem to get flustered. Sometimes he has like a logical breakdown. Breakdown is a strong word. He hasn't yet figured it out, some of these strategies. But he doesn't seem to get tilted or throw games away. And after the first game, where Serral tried a high economy, high aggression late game timing, and it failed, Serral tries a high economy, high aggression late game timing, and finds success. He changes a few things, tweaks a few knobs, and comes out ahead. And that means we're tied up 1-1. Ley lines. The probe gonna flirt with the minerals. For those who don't know, what's happening here is the minerals don't discriminate. All right, the minerals have a brain, and if somebody's giving them attention, they don't care who it is. When the probe comes up and says, "Hey, I wanna grab those minerals from your mineral field," the mineral field's like, "You?" And when a drone comes by, that same split second, it's like, I'm spoken for. So, what the probe is doing is giving all the minerals what they call blue minerals and teasing them. And now Serral is also confirming to the minerals that indeed he wants the drones to gather the minerals from their field. So this is what players do to pad their APM and show off to their Diamond League friends. No, when literally these players are so good they could go about their build probably literally in their sleep. It is something to do to potentially, if you do it perfectly and they don't counter it, you might deny them 10, 20, 25 minerals even throughout the course of a minute or two. So As long as you literally don't mess up a single part of your build back home for even a couple seconds, it's worth it. Obviously, it's quite annoying, and you get plenty of scouting info. But honest, when it comes to probes, I think it's about creating mental problems, not physical problems. The Zergling's on the chase, though. Probe actually dodges. I'm going to spot it at the 3rd. Overlord just menacingly glaring down. Waiting for MaxPax to commit to something more than he already has down there. Don't think he's going to find it. Stargate it is, and an Oracle to kick things off. Queen. Papers, please! Well, Adept shades away. Not willing to pay the toll. Two oracles at least. Will there be a switcher? I think this map is even better suited to the sort of mass Hydra Ling style. The hardest part is keeping a hold of a 4th base. For both sides, really, but especially Protoss. And the question is, does he take it towards the center, where there's a rich Vespene geyser, but a small mineral field that must be mined through? Has 150 minerals, so not like... it's several minutes of mining. You gotta commit to it. But then you open up the rich Vespene geyser, which can really skyrocket your build. Of course, it is only one gas geyser, and important to note about the rich geysers, they still have the same amount. They just mine much more quickly. Twice as quickly. So, a quick boost, but it's effectively like having 2 gas geysers in one. But it runs out quick as well. Twilight and Forge on the way for MaxPax back at home. Of course. At least switch up from the blinking +1. Honestly, the mutas did their job last game. The mutas, and you might be like, well, all they did was kill like 8 probes and annoy stalkers for a while. Yes, and that is the best mutas in this day and age can hope for. So, the fact that MaxPax had to stay at home and defend for several minutes and spend extra time allowing Serral to build up to defend the attack. That's what made the difference. Serral had to make that investment pay off, and he did. And that made the difference between Game 1 and Game 2, I think, where MaxPax, well, both MaxPax and Serral in Game 1 just built up and clashed with their armies. And Serral initially found success, but the problem was MaxPax already had his tech progressed to a point where if you're not prepared to go into the supreme late game as Zerg, you're gonna have a bad time. That did not happen because of the mutas in Game 2. So if Serral can keep that tech delayed, he's now expanding to 2 4th bases. And that terminology is very intentional, because a lot of the time, we've kind of re-embraced the strategy from Wings of Liberty, where Zerg players will expand to multiple bases, and it's kind of a Darwinian evolution, where whichever base survives becomes your 4th. Only once a base is mining for 30 seconds, once a base has been injected and its larva pops off, that is when it becomes christened a new base, if you would. If it hasn't had its first inject pop off yet, is it even a real base? Well, that's a bit reductionist, Winter, don't you think? Though I do agree, Brenda, this is not your place to chime in. This is not your conversation. Notice how there are queens but no kings? Think about that. Lings and Bane's trying to come in. But Serral looking the other way. I think distracted by the Blink Stalkers as the probes all evacuate. Not a single probe dies. Somehow, despite all this, MaxPax, well, that's still... that entire counterattack with all the probes, including there are still probes on the gas mining under... I hope they're getting hazard pay. Doubt it, but... Somehow Serral didn't kill a single probe in that counter. But another key part, he undercut the full attack. He undercut the Blink Stalker aggression. And now, that means Serral... Wait, well, he has 4.5 bases. He's got an infestation pit on the way. Hydra Den's already done. Hydra range is in production. MaxPax, his Storm is halfway there. Charge and +2. Takes the base down the center. The Oracle's coming. Gonna try to burn down some drones. That infestation pit glaring here. Can Serral... Wow, 16 more drones on the way. It's a bit gratuitous. Starts a Lurker Den alongside the Hive. The Lings. All over the place. And that choke point withering as the storms rain down. A couple of the Templar are taken out, but the attack is entirely deflected. Serral will be cut down on this side of things, but again, Serral drags the army back and opens up space. This is a vulnerable time for him. He's working, he's got a whole lot in the mail, but it has yet to be delivered. Lurker Den, 3/4 of the way done. Hive halfway there. Hydra speed not completed. +2 ranged attack just started. Only, it's going to be another minute or so until Serral has all of his tech online. I mean, at the same time, MaxPax still needs to be protective of his 4th base. He's got a fleet beacon on the way as well, so we can clearly tell where this is headed. Warp Prism trying to wait, looking for an opportunity. Up in that top left corner. Zealots warped in. Storms ward away the Zerglings down towards the south side. And now it's MaxPax's turn to be aggressive, as Serral is kind of bottled up as he techs up to Hive. Few Banelings roll through. The cannon and Zealots will block him out at the 4th base. Warp Prism, get out of the way! Alright. Well, the Queen's trying to get the Warp Prism, but it will evade capture. And by capture, I mean destruction. Ugh, very dead Lurker. The Zerglings scattered to try to deal with the stasis wards on the field. Another wave of Banelings is rolling in. Oh, stop right there. Criminal scum. Stop right there. Okay, it wasn't... Well, now MaxPax has a bit of an odd situation on his hands. About 40 Zerglings and 10 Banes are frozen in stasis. Not dead, not alive. Sort of purgatory for these units. But he has to deal with them, like... Those Banelings are dealt with. The Zerglings to the north side. Adrenalings about to complete. The storms just melt through the vast majority of the north side lane. Serral's starting to bank up a lot of minerals and gas as well. Aspire is about to... Stasis caught some Lurkers. He's trying to jump on him, it looks like. Moves a little far back. And MaxPax with an army across the field. Mothership about to complete. Storm. Actually, empty field on that one. The Adrenalings ripping through the defenses. Storms on Zealots and Zerglings alike. Banelings rolling in. The Lurker's looking for an opportunity. Gets a Revelation on top. A little bit late on the burrow. He does have quick burrow, but not quick enough to stop a couple Lurkers from going down. Zerglings on another Nexus. Taken down, no cancel. 6 probes dead. MaxPax has done an applaudable job of keeping his probes alive despite the multi-pronged attacks here. But he's been unable to move out and contest Serral. And Serral now clearly knows where this is going. He's got a Greater Spire on the way. 13 Corruptors in production. Another cadre of Tempests are being built. The Banelings rolling into the 4th, and he's finally going to find a connection. Though, it looked good to start, and he ended up with 6 probes for like 10 banelings, which is not an incredible trade, but it's something, I guess. Serral starting to suffer from some diminishing returns, but he keeps the pressure on. The Zergling should be able to take out this base. Immediately canceled. Few more Zerglings off to the right flank. The creep spread is quite minimal. Warp Prism finally taken down by the Corruptors, which does reveal their presence on the field. MaxPax splitting his army off into battle groups, which is something quite risky and has hurt him before, but also is the only way to compete with this multi-pronged Zerg style. If it works, it looks genius. If it doesn't, less so. But a mothership alongside the majority of the ground army is off to the northern flank, whereas the southern battle group is all of the Tempests and a lot of Templar and Stalkers underneath. So that is a more mobile composition, but the mothership and the next side both have access to recall. He can't get caught entirely out of position, because then he'll suffer critical losses. But if he gets in a kind of tough spot, he can just recall out. And, well, kind of surprised we haven't seen it yet. He's just kiting back. He's going to lose almost everything, but at the same time, there are multiple counterattacks. MaxPax sacrifices the majority of the southern battle group in order to cut through with the Zealots at the third, and the mothership army to the top left corner will knock out a hatchery as well. So MaxPax trades some of his Tempests for effectively 2 bases of economy. And the mothership is still going. The Storms, the Lurkers, almost takes down the Observer, though a Sporcher moving up, a Rooting in front. No tectonic destabilizers in production. A pretty big oversight at this stage for MaxPax. I don't think he has any detection, but even without the destabilizers, he's able to take down the hatchery pretty easily. Where's the recall? Just sacrifice. He does recall out. Gets like 2 Tempests out of there. That was a Nexus recall. Important to note, not a mothership one, which means he doesn't have it for the mothership. Meanwhile, some more Zealots cutting through on the ground. Serral with the conundrum. Too many Corruptors. And you can't fight on the ground. Too few, and the Tempests run rampant. Well, metaphorically. The Zerglings, though, take out another Nexus. MaxPax dragged back down to 4. But Serral also kind of hurting to find bases to mine from. He's got the base down in the center, and he rebuilds the 6 o'clock, but he's pretty low on the fresh mineral patches. So that means MaxPax will, for the first time in 10 minutes, scratch at an income lead. He won't quite make it there, but he turns that around on Serral. Dropper Lords loaded up. Just a few pixels away from the main brunt of MaxPax's army. At least spot them. No. They will be able to unload in the main. MaxPax. The mothership battle group to the south. Zerglings on top of the 4th base. Cannons everywhere. Zerglings into the main as well. But the cannons are bottling up all the lings at the 4th. Serral trying to dive in on the mothership. Unfortunately, the Tempests, yeah, without those destabilizers, they're going to take quite a while to take down the hatchery. And now without a fleet beacon, they're going to have even more trouble. So Serral is gutting the main base. Eventually, the Zergling should be cleaned up, but does he have the ability to actually fight the main army? The Queens and Spore Crawlers will slow this down. 14 more drones dead. Serral without much in the bank, and he's not maxed out either. 1 Queen annihilated. MaxPax continues shelling at the 9 o'clock base. Tempest, Archons, Templar, and an Immortal and an Oracle. Also important parts of the composition, though less numerous. The Zerglings look to just overrun the cannons, but a warping of Zealots in the pickets there. There's more than enough to stop him. Now, Serral kind of scrambling for a defense. Even though he did a lot of damage, it was mostly superficial. Stargates are kind of cheap in the grand scheme of things. They're even cheaper than the Tempests themselves, even a single one. And now Serral has less money in the bank, and the income is about even. He's lost 8,000 more resources, though only a few hundred more gas. The fleet beacon has to be rebuilt. That was probably the biggest win. One, it's a very costly building. Zerg things working through the pylons to depower. And +3 ground weapons could be outright depowered, and that'd be a pretty big win. In the scheme of things here. Will be repowered, but the Tempest shelling, that lack of tectonic destabilizers, probably saving the base for now. Though continuing to work through. More Zerglings trying to overrun the cannons. Is Neural Parasite completed? Indeed it is! You know what's pretty good against Tempest? That wasn't rhetorical. You could answer. This is a call and response situation. Like and subscribe. It's Tempest. That's the answer. It wasn't a trick question. Archon's actually taking out Templar and an Observer. Wow, these Protoss units are pretty good, says Serral. Maybe I should switch. Oh, please don't. Please don't. Mothership. Another ship is on the way. MaxPax still with a very strong army on the field, though no shield upgrades. Only +2 ground weapons and +1 air. Serral with +3 melee and +2 ranged attack. 1-1 in the sky, as well as +2 flyer about to complete. He's struggling. The Templar eviscerated by the Lurkers. But MaxPax has secured a 5th base, which Serral is struggling to do comfortably. I guess because he has 6 bases, so... I said comfortably. Broodlords on the way. The main base looking real sparse right now. Wow. Looks like somebody just forgot to build the rest. How cleanly it was taken out. I think it's because there's no minerals left as well. Like, it's completely out of resource. Well, this looked really weird. The changelings caught in stasis. Well, I for ire, right, guys? Glory to Ire Stotska. No, Billy, no. Burrowed Zergling in the crater there, denying another base. Neither player comfortable at 200 supply right now. MaxPax isn't there, and Serral without much in the bank at all. He's been relegated mostly to the Infestor Broodlord, but has to be very careful with it. He can barely replace any part of this composition. His army is worth 7,600 minerals, 6,100 gas. He has nothing in the bank. He has a lot of gas, but the minerals are very thin. 500. Trying to build more hatcheries. That very center base on the low ground also has a rich Vespi. Though it's going to be the hardest to take for both sides. Still no tectonic destabilizers. MaxPax didn't notice it with his first fleet beacon, and he hasn't gotten it with his second. Feels like a bit of a mental block on that one. It is quite a key upgrade that's literally designed exactly for this scenario. It adds a heck ton of damage against buildings. I think it's +40. It's almost like double DPS. That's when you get the Dorito Dusted Tempest. It's specifically against buildings. Even though it looks like it works against ground units, only buildings. Thank you, MaxPax. Tectonic destabilizers in production. More attacks on both sides. The Zerglings will take out the base at the 3 o'clock. MaxPax attacking down the center. The Lurker count. The spines scattered throughout the porcupine setup here. It is quite prickly, but a zealot. He keeps a zealot in the wall. Hero. You got your finger paints out? Write this down. A Viper on the way. +3 flyer attack. The Tempest. One more volley, and he takes down the hatchery. Serral desperately trying to mine, while MaxPax much more comfortable in this scenario. Tempest working their way through. Trying to be very careful with the observers. Actually getting a bit close to the spore crawlers to take out the Lurkers. And Immortal and Archon caught. Actually turn around and obliterate 2 infestors for the hubris of coming so close. Meanwhile, Serral to the north side. Will we see a recall? He recalls on the base. Where's the mothership? Hard to miss. They modeled after your mother. But Broodlord's on the way. How many in total? 7 going on 10. We haven't seen them too much as part of the fights. I think MaxPax knows about them. I don't think they've been a big part of any direct engagement so far. I mean, what are you going to do? Build more Tempests? Yeah, probably. Speaking of which, MaxPax is at 170 supply with 3,100 minerals in the bank, which is kind of an odd scenario. Don't know if he's saving it effectively. Oh, the destabilize help obliterate that base. He pre-calls. And looks like he's not going to jail today. Gets out free with the mothership. Teleports across the map and will take out the 6 o'clock base. The Broodlords will besiege the northern front. The Archons are hunting down and obliterating the drones. Dozens will die. Fungal comes out. Lurker. That's a weird look to it underneath there. But the Fungals doing mostly superficial damage. They barely scratch the paint nowadays. Microbial Shroud on the Lurkers to reduce the damage by 50% from the Tempest. Unfortunately, doesn't reduce any damage from Storm, but the Broodlord's trying to move in. The Queens suffering the brunt of this. The Infestors were not actually revelated. He doesn't know they're down there, but 2 more bases are dead for Serral. His income is flatlining. He's down to like 4 or 5 mineral patches next to a hatchery. The rest he's long distance mining, which, believe it or not, is not ideal. Looks like the northern base was actually taken out for MaxPax, so a small win for Serral, but the army value, maybe not the value, but the army on the field. Serral's army might be 1,000 more minerals and 1,500 more gas in value, but going off of creep with Infestors and Broodlords is optimistic at best. You need the Sporist with it in order to get the damage done. The Lurkers trying to make up their minds on whether they're burrowing down or putting their heads up. Up to the 12 o'clock base. The Lurkers are chewing through, popping another Infestor, knocking out some Spore Crawlers. That center base is such a vulnerability on the plateau. The Tempest, there ain't no kill like overkill. Firing off 10 Tempest shots to kill a single drone, which 1 Tempest shot without upgrades can kill, I might add. The only worker it can't kill is SCVs, because that would frustrate Terrans. Well, the Infestor Broodlord. Another Lurker burrowed down. Infestors and Corruptors. Another Nexus taken out. I don't know if just that one Lurker. It looked like there were more over there, but they pulled back. Serral, struggling on supply. Just whipping out Fungals. There's a mothership to the south, threatening a mass recall. The Tempest. Oh, he gets range on the Broods. That Viper is so important. The Corruptors patrolling for the mothership. I don't think 4 Corruptors actually beat a mothership. Fungal catches some. Microbial Shroud and Neural Parasite, but he pre-called it. And only the ones that were latched before the recall. And now here comes MaxPax again to the south side. Serral will have to uproot and scramble. He was able to deny the 12 o'clock base, but he keeps having to come back to deal with these armies with less and less to do so. The Broodlords actually zoning out the Zealots. There is still Nexus recall. He could move the army back to the north side with it. What Serral needs is to Neural Parasite a probe, get a Nexus, and then recall his Broodlords with it. The Scarlet maneuver. I don't think that's likely to work out, but if the offer presents itself at this point... Well... Another base. They're expanding within a screen of each other now. It's getting real dicey. Serral has the late game Zerg army. He has fully upgraded 3/3 Broodlord Corruptor. Though the Broodlings only have +1 Carapace. But also +3 melee. Though most of the damage is in that initial impact. It is 9 Infestors, 11 Broods, 23 Corruptors. Up against a Mothership, 7 Templar, which I assume have mostly full energy. 4 Immortals, 6 Archons, and 8 Tempests. A couple Oracles scattered in. There's a Viper in there. He tries to neural parasite an Oracle, but it glides out of range just in time. Carriers on the way for MaxPax. Looking to close it out. Carriers are a finishing move. They have way more DPS overall in a fight than the Tempests do, but they're a much more expensive and hard to maintain unit. So that means MaxPax is either... What is this? What am I watching? The death of a Templar. Colorized. Well, that was a very, very, very dead High Templar. +3 flyer attack. Both sides struggling to continue to expand, but they both managed to max out with money in the bank yet again. So evenly matched. Storms, though. MaxPax strikes through. The Lurker Concave was not enough to stop the Immortal Archon Templar. 3 observers just to make sure. But the Infestor Broodlord. MaxPax still with plenty of minerals. His gas is looking a little thin here as he tries to set up that center base. The carriers have arrived. He is maxed out, so... The Mothership. Infestor's trying to get close enough. Obliterates 1 Broodlord. The Nexus may just go down, but the well, another battle group, a ground battle group, taking down the Lurkers to the south side. Immortal Archon charge lock, with some Templar in tow and observers overhead. But Zerglings cutting off some of the Zealots down the center. Serral looking for the Fungal, grabs a Tempest, gets another Fungal. Time warp to zone out the rest of the army. He recalls the units from near point-blank range. The Storms hit almost all of the Corruptors. And Serral's trying to close in here. It was a bit of a questionable recall. He just kind of grabbed them from the other side of the street. Saved a couple, but now the Mothership is on cooldown itself. The Zergling sneaking in again. Serral has almost no gas. The income has been trending towards MaxPax for most of 10 minutes now. Serral suffering from success. He mined out his bases earlier. He tried to leverage that, but now he has only 1 base with any gas at all. If you manage to retake the southern hatcheries, but that seems like a distant dream at this point. The feedbacks on top of everything. The Infestors try to close in. The Corruptors doing so more successfully. Mothership taken out of the sky. Neural Parasite on the carriers. The Tempest targeting the Infestors. The Corruptors getting on top of everything. And the Broodlords still shelling. Still raining down the Broodlings to chew through. And Serral finding a surprising success in this fight. The Mothership taken down. The Corruptors still very high in number. Neural Parasite, but he takes out the Infestor. It feels like a fool's errand. Meanwhile, another battle group in the center of the map. Unclear exactly who took the better trade there, but Serral manages to find some success. The Hydra's gonna take out this base. Did he ever get Hydra lunge? He did not. Meanwhile, more Tempests on the way. Serral closing in with the Corruptors. He still has some Archons on the ground here. Technically could warp in some more Stalkers. MaxPax still has plenty of money in the bank. 12 probes down, but MaxPax, he's mining on 1 base to the other side of the map. He's gonna lose this Nexus. 33 to 31 workers. The Zealot's forced to pull back. Knocks out another Brood. Corruptor taking even more damage. The Zealots will be chased down. The Observers as well. Serral manages To carve out... What? MaxPax types GG. What? Serral took a victory in that fight. Over the last minute and a half, Serral actually killed 2,005. Wow. Look at that laundry list of incredibly expensive units that both sides lost. But was MaxPax in a game-losing position? Now we have to think about MaxPax's perspective. He sees Serral, he still has Infestors, Broodlords, and Corruptors. He just lost a fight to Hydras and Lynx, which indicates, or it seems to indicate, that Serral has enough money to just fill in a bunch more units. So I understand the thought process is like, well, I just lost most of my Sky Toss, my mothership. I have no gas, or very little gas. Zergling or Zealots aren't necessarily going to do it. But when you have 2,000 minerals in the bank and the game is 30 minutes, no. No. Is this even a losing position for MaxPax? So let's take stock. Serral has one base of mining. MaxPax has one base of mining, but MaxPax has minerals in the bank. He could warp in Zealots. He could warp in Templar with Storm with energy recharge. He still has 6 Tempests with more in production against just 10 Corruptors, and Serral can't rebuild. No, that's unacceptable. That is... Doesn't matter how this series ends. This... I see why, but this is clearly not over. Serral, I think, mentally defeating MaxPax there, but I think if you asked Serral, for the last 10 minutes, he would have said he's losing. And I probably would have agreed. And you let me know in the comments what you think, but against a Protoss, who still has this level of Tempest production, is likely going to still be mining and can do pretty huge Zealot run-bys. Yeah, he may lose another battle, but Serral literally can only mine maybe off 2 bases, but he only has 31 drones as well. You can't leave with 6 template. You can't leave with that much in the bank after this. That's oof. That's a big oof owie yikes from me, dog. Wow. I would put this, might be biased, and it's only because it's Serral, it's this high, but I put this out like 40-60 in favor of MaxPax, this position. If it was not Serral, it'd be like 80-20 Max. I said that wrong. Like 60-40 MaxPax. If it wasn't Serral, it'd be 80-20 or higher MaxPax. Serral is the only thing that keeps this going. Serral is the only chance to turn 4 low-energy Infestors, like 10 bruised Corruptors, and 0 Queens. Well, no matter how this ends, I think that's gonna be a bit of a stain on things. But, well, that brings us to game 4. Amygdala. I certainly feel things. What? Not quite an Hydra GG. But I think, therefore I am. But also, I think if you have, in a ladder game, 10% is fine. Depending on who you are and how tilted you get, 10% chance of victory. You drop below that, it's GG time. I think in a tournament match, it's like 2%. You pretty much have to go until the best chance of victory, like the chance of victory, well, even in tournaments, your opponent's mother disconnecting their Ethernet cord is probably not likely. But something like that. Especially at a 30-minute game, no, you don't leave there. That is upsetting. And it might actually end up being I don't know if you'd call MaxPax beating Serral an upset at this day and age. I think they're pretty evenly matched and have been for several months. Since Serral came back from his military service, not that he wasn't practicing, just not practicing as much, and the new patch, they've gone about 50-50. I think Serral has the edge overall, but not in that game. Mentally, clearly. I was talking about how Serral doesn't get tilted, and I think that is, there's some contrast there, for sure. Well, I gotta shake that one off. We'll see if MaxPax is able to. And I want to be clear, even though the supplies did not favor MaxPax at that stage, remember how much money he had in the bank. He can warp in another round of Zealots. The supplies are even. He has more mining. He has stronger units. It's, once you lose the complexity of the unit composition as Zerg, with that sort of economy, it's very hard to replace it. You can't get a lot done with just a couple of infestors and like 4 broodlords. So, the map was mostly drained for Serral, whereas MaxPax still had options. Well, he's still got at least one more game, so we'll see. Oracle on the way. MaxPax shades in. Takes a look around, shades right back out. Zergling speed completed. Serral actually pulls back with the links. He was working on the rocks a bit. 4th base at the gold would be great to have, though usually the rocks aren't taken down by that time. He overcharged the first Oracle, so we'll have maximum energy to start things off. Not using it quite yet. The Queen's in position. Robotics facility very quickly behind. So this is finally a mix-up here from the Blink +1. Probably a charge lot Archon timing, which can hit way harder and depends on exactly what you're looking for, but it can be faster as well. Does he have the 2 gas at the natural? He's mining from 1. I do wonder... he's just now taking the 2nd. Or mining from the 2nd, rather. +1 melee attack. Now on the way for Serral. And as this Twilight Council finishes, we'll see exactly what MaxPax has in store. Could just be an incredibly heavy blink timing. He's so good with the blink stalkers. It's quite disgusting. In an impressive way. Like, being able to eat a lot of hot dogs very quickly. Which no Protoss can do, so that'd be even more impressive, but... Templar Archives. +1's on the way to charge. It's going to be that Archon charge lot competition. Composition. Well, both. But mostly composition. How many gates? 4 of them. He hasn't added any more on, so just the Archon drop to start. And he's gonna... Wow, no shame. Warps him in. The Overlord spots it. Yeah, he was definitely in range to see the Templar. Already moving back. Roach is in production. Archon drop. The queens will engage, but the power seems to be greater than whelming at the moment. Another queen! Oh, don't worry, it was just Karen. What about the other one? Oh, that was Karen's sister. Karen. They really weren't very original, were they? No. Sorry. Right. Templar Archives. With Psionic Storm in production. Roach is on the way. Roach Speed is the choice from Serral. Dancing around with the prism. The Queen... A German taxi build? The Queens are loaded up. He only has 62 drones. Serral intending on doing an all-out attack. The Queen drop will head through the center. If the Warp Prism spotted it, this could be a total disaster. Storm will be completed by the time the Zerg army arrives. So... this... well, here come the Queens. Does he have any energy? Does he have energy recharge? I think just now, getting enough for it. The Templar gonna start setting up, or I mean the Oracles. Surprise, yeah, he's setting up some stasis. But the Storms are ready. Hasn't yet cast it. He's holding on to him, knows that every storm is precious. Down goes the Oracle immediately. The Immortals zoning out. Queens doing what they can. There's a cannon in the mineral line. The Cyber Core will be taken out. Not a huge blow here since he's mostly reliant on the Templar and the charge lots. More storms coming through. Where's the... he already used the energy recharge, but a drop in the main. Stasis! Wow! A huge stasis. Half the Zerg army, more than half, will be completely negated in this fight. And MaxPax will be able to engage the rest and drive it back in time. Couple Zealots warped into the main. Still a dicey position here for MaxPax. He has enough... no, he loses! That last Templar was Storm. The corrosive vials are working their way through, but 4 Immortals are a lot to contend with. The Zerglings are trickling in. The main base, the Zerglings were cleaned up. He lost 5 probes in total, but another Storm. Energy recharge, bringing out 2 more Storms to deal with this. But the supply is quite a story. Thing is, Serral's supply is in Roaches and Ravagers, which are all quantity and they lack quality. The Immortals, on the other hand, are bashing through. He needs to be able to clear the wheat from the chaff. And the Zerglings are being cut down easily. More corrosive bowel. He's juggling out of the way, but otherwise standing his ground. The Immortals are holding the line, and Serral's supply is being driven down. Almost loses one of those Immortals. But oh my. What a hold from MaxPax. Juggling those Immortals. The Templar holding until he had the critical mass. And, well, MaxPax actually has the supply lead. That imploded so quick. Oh. Serral's supply has peaked and is now on quite a downward trend, as MaxPax actually maintained a similar amount throughout that fight. He was able to replace it as the fight went on. Storm was already done by the time he showed up, if he had any amount of time before Storm completed. Well, the stasis was the real MVP, I think. The stasis cutting the army, cloven in twain, if you would. And with that, he was able to just divide and conquer. And I'm saying it almost past tense, because if Serral wasn't able to take a winning fight with 50 more army supply, I think it's optimistic he'll do so with about the same. His base just gets annihilated. Meanwhile, some more Zealots dropping out to protect the prison, but Serral's knocked down to 3 bases. There is no blink, so the Overlord will be taken down, but only after some Zerglings are able to drop out. Serral just taps out. MaxPax with a commanding game. He completely shuts down the attack. It wasn't easy, but it was decisive by the end. So we're going to game number 5. MaxPax showing a lot more confidence that time around. Serral trying that timing attack, but the margin to hit before storm is so thin. And even at 200 supply, having those storms on demand is quite helpful. Now the map that looks beautiful, makes me think of beautiful things that will never happen. Ultra love. Ultra is the chubby kid picked last for dodgeball because they can't dodge anything. They're re-embiggened yet again with the last patch. Countered by pretty much everything. The fact that Immortals and Tempests are core parts of the Protoss composition means the counter to Ultras is built into this matchup. Occasionally, if the Zerg is able to get an economic lead, then maybe Ultras can be the finishing move, but as a great man once said, Hydra, when I'm really far ahead and I want to lose, I build Ultras. And I feel like I have to every time when I use that quote. Yes, Ultras have been changed and arguably buffed many times since then. But I think it still is more often than not the truth, unfortunately. Very simply, Ultras don't have a niche that Lings and Banes, when well controlled, don't also fill more cheaply and effectively. There are very few times against a top-level player, Ultralists are going to get the job done that a few dozen Lings and Banes wouldn't, for similar cost. And the thing about Ultras is either you attack with them or you don't. Lings and Banes, you can lose a few and you still got most of them. The Ultras, not so much. You'll see, though. Serral trying to take advantage of the vulnerability of the Archon drop, which is lacking in a ground arm. You go so far up the tech tree so fast. You saw you only had 4 gates for quite a while, but MaxPax recognized the attack, chrono boosted out Storm. I still think the stasis won the game. Without that stasis, we look at a much closer attack. Possibly Serral actually overrunning him despite the storms. But like 40-50 supply in a single stasis is, well, that's a bit much. Stargate, 5 for 5 to start things off. We'll see. It's anything but the Oracle this time around. What a series. Still, though, I feel like it should have already ended. MaxPax on ley lines. Quite a dramatic gesture. And definitely calling to mind the Hydra of old, despite the fact his career was over half of MaxPax's life ago. MaxPax, I believe, 20 now? So, Hydra playing 12 years ago, wow. Maybe won that. Void Ray. Gonna bookend this series. Void Ray first. Burns away the Overlord. Twilight Council immediately. Are we also going to see the Forge? Or is it time for our obligatory Adept Glaives game? It's almost tradition, for better or worse, many times for worse, to just go Adept Glaives almost randomly in at least one game a series. Especially against Serral, to try to pick up one of those freebies. He's not. You know what I would like to see is a shrine to everyone's favorite player, ranked #1 in the world. Nope, it's the Glaives. We're doing it. All right, game 5. It's Adept Glaives time. Serral, you gotta know this is coming. He hasn't yet fulfilled his Glaives quota. You gotta have 50 shades with Glaives by the time it's all said and done. Now, it's very similar to the Archon drop-in. If the Zerg underreacts, you can just win the game. If they overreact, all you have to do is hold. And treading that line as a Zerg player is incredibly difficult. You overbuild drones and you can just die. Oh my. He gets the hatch started. Gonna try to light up that... Get out of the way! Oh, wait. Okay, this is getting weird. Not enough damage. The Zerglings, and there's no recall to this base, so an awkward start indeed. The Adepts, 2 Adepts taken out. This is a great start for Serral. As forcing the Oracle back home, killing any amount of Adepts, and getting his 4th base mostly unchallenged. The Queen's already in position to deal with this, anticipating the Void Ray coming back around for another pass. Waves are about to complete. He has... Oh, wow, he's hitting so many Adepts. Oh, Serral. He's building more drones. He has no idea. Oh, it's a disaster. He's building roaches now. I don't think he saw this. I think he's just at full 3-base saturation. He's like, I'm gonna build some roaches. And it's a very good thing he did, because otherwise this series could end right now. The Void Ray helping out. The Adepts will shade through. He does have a wall at the natural. It will be taken down by the Adepts as the Roaches move to body block the mineral line. He's just fighting the Roaches outright. Now targeting down some of the drones. Zergling counter actually finds a few of the probes. And so far, well, 8 drones dead. There's... The Oracle came in and got some more. But overall, while Serral will suffer greater losses, I think he's cleaning this up relatively quickly and clean. Oh no! He went to the 4th base where the Oracle came in, and now will rack up the kills. There was a weak point, and MaxPax will exploit it to great effect. That Oracle racking up as many kills as the rest of the attack. He ran a little too far away. And a lot of those drones didn't come back. Now he has to rebuild. And the thing is, Serral, like, his build has been scouted. He doesn't have road speed. He can't just come across the map. He doesn't have any anti-air either. There's a Void Ray and an Oracle, so a big roach swell, unlikely to get critical damage. He has to go across and threaten. But it's not going to do that much. And Serral recognizes that. He's adding on more drones, some Hydras. Making sure that he has some options here. MaxPax gonna keep the pressure on with the Blink Stalkers, which is a bit risky. Serral didn't overdrone. He rebuilt. He's making sure he has enough units to withstand the fire and the fury that MaxPax has been bringing. Storm is on the way. Very important. That critical upgrade has defined this series so far, and will continue to do so. Roach counterattack. Stalkers trotting in. He does have that one stasis at the back. He'll trigger it on a few lings. Stalkers running away. Roaches get into the natural. No defenses here. He could go for the pylon if he actually gets it before the Stalkers. No, the reshield. What a save. And the Stalkers actually come back around. He recalls out. He drags the Hydras back at his most vulnerable time. MaxPax successfully deflects the Roach Hydra until Storm. Now, Storm is now completing. Serral going to be leaning on him. Still 15 or so seconds on Storm. The Templar on the way. If he can get the Nexus, that's a pretty big win. The Nexus under attack. The Templar Storm now done. Nexus shield stripped away, but he hasn't really focused on it. Another army coming in. MaxPax beset on both sides. The first Storm is completely off the mark. The Nexus and half HP. The Templar! The Templar! He lost the Templar with energy, and he loses the 4th base. A critical mistake at a critical time, as Serral has 174 to 140 supply. Now, a war prism with some charge lots. Serral backing off. Now has 4 bases with 80 drones, heading up towards Hive with Lurker Den. Doesn't choose to press the issue further, which we'll see if that's a mistake or not. But coming up a ramp into potentially more storms was not something he was interested in doing. But MaxPax losing those Templar in the Nexus, a critical blow, but not yet a lethal one, as he still has. We're still early on in the game. Even the main base is still mining comfortably. So both players still have plenty of economy to rebuild. Serral now has taken the income lead, but not by much. Hive Tech is still pretty far off. MaxPax has yet to start a fleet beacon. So he kind of has the resources. Oh, well. MaxPax has not started a fleet. There's a fleet. There it is. There's a fleet beacon. Okay. He starts it at that moment, realizing the next level of tech will be likely necessary. Fleet beacon halfway done. Hive about completed. Lurkers with range on the way. There's that blink stalker tucked into the little corner by the watchtower. The Hydras removed both players. A rocky engagement. The Hydra's pin cushioning the debris. Spire's on the way. Anticipating the mothership, which will be entering production. Actually, he doesn't have the gas. Meow! I think he canceled something for it. But MaxPax is nearly maxed out, and he's packing his bags, heading across the map. 2 battle groups, both ground armies. Battle group to the north, both have Templar and Immortals. Fragile, yet incredibly strong armies in their own ways. The Storms making him pay quite a price, but another army is moving through. The Immortals backstopping it, but the Lurkers are still an existential threat. Without the mothership to fall back to, both for the mothership recall and for things like cloaking and time warp, it's a lot harder to engage this sort of army. Hydra Munge is on the way. +3 range detect. The Storms on the ramp. I try to take down, gets one of the Archons. Lurker will be obliterated. 16 more Lurkers on the way. $14 more Lurkers. Oh yeah, he must have finished a couple or canceled, I'm not sure. Greater Spire immediately as we speed run to the late game now. Tempest. Still the Templar on the ground. The Lurkers will burrow down. Big Zealot counterattack on the Serral's 5th base at the 9 o'clock. What is there to respond? Enough Lurkers. More than enough. He has no well, he's moving the Lurkers up under cover of the Roaches and Lings. Meanwhile, the Tempests are chasing down the Lurkers across the map. MaxPax still nearly maxed out. Serral already there. Few Hydras left behind to chase down the Prism. The Corruptor should be able to finish the job. MaxPax on 4 bases to Serral's 6. Those Lurkers, what are you doing? Oh, not there. Time Warp Storm. A Hogwarts, a spell casting from MaxPax. Is there going to be enough anti-air? There's 8 Templar. There are 20 Lurkers. Though MaxPax might take out a few more of them here. 20 Lurkers on the field is both a strength and quite a liability. Easily taken out half a dozen of them. More working on the 3rd. MaxPax going to come in from another angle. Trying to combine. Storms to soften things up. Zealots from either side. Took out the base in the bottom right. More Zealots. Gonna force the units back. Just pincers and crushes the Lurkers down the center. More Lurkers trying to morph, but Serral just cleaned up on MaxPax's side. He still has a massive income lead, but quite a wasteful engagement. MaxPax, it hasn't been cheap, but he has the army now. 126 army supply to 112. The battle groups will split. The Tempest to the south, the Mothership and a ground army to the north. But of course, with the Mothership, he can combine them very quickly. And he may be doing so momentarily. Is it happening? He's storming his way across. He's actually just going to fight it out. Meanwhile, the Mothership army trying to cut off some of the reinforcements. Kind of an awkward angle for both sides. He will be losing every single Tempest. He has a Congress of Corruptors in the sky. But what does Serral actually have left on the ground? 8 Lurkers trickling into the fray. I don't know if there's any other detection here. He recalls something forward. 1 observer. And that is going to be so important. Serral, the Corruptors are on the other side of the map. Meanwhile, MaxPax is driving through into the heart of the swarm. 15 more Hydras on the way, but MaxPax is in between all of the bases. He's cutting off the circulation between the production. And Serral right now is bleeding out. You can't just trickle Hydras into this army. The Caustic Spray will take out 2 of the Nexi. Wait, no! No! He didn't finish either one! And he doesn't finish MaxPax! GG! MaxPax finds that decisive timing, and he powers through. He makes up for that inauspicious Game 3, the questionable GG, and he ends up taking 3. And now Serral will pay the fee. Well, MaxPax takes it 3-2. Serral unable to find the angle to deal with the Mothership and the Tempest. I think underestimating MaxPax's commitment to an all-out attack, especially considering how the other games in the series went. But MaxPax just went for it. And sometimes, just being in the right place makes it the right time. Quite a series, yet again, between these two. I think it easily could have gone either way, but MaxPax had the edge today. So, I hope it made your day a little bit better. And if you got the means and motivation, it'd be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. Thank you to our Mule Tier patrons for bringing in all those extra minerals. Big Jiggy, Dorke, Mario N. But I hear liking and subscribing. Still free for now. Make sure to check out the second channel, Winter Gaming TV, for even more content and streams and all that. If you're into it, you have more hours in the day. But if you don't, well, I don't really blame you. This was not a short one. But thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope I made your day a little bit better. And I hope to see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Stay chill.